Chapter 575. Today's fourth chapter. Still working hard. Fifth chapter. Calling for everyone's support. Thank you. Even the people of Hermitage did not know that one of the three supreme martial artists who had just been split into two was Ning Wuqing's younger brother, Cheng Fengyi. Although they did not share the same surname, they were the same blood. Ning Wuqing had put in a lot of effort for this brother of his to become a supreme martial artist and then enter Hermitage. The two of them had spent their entire lives together, but they had never imagined that they would be split into two here, forever separated. Close to 200 years of kinship had turned into nothingness after this blade of blood. Ning Wuqing had gone mad. He roared, "Jun Moxie, I know you did it. Come out if you have the guts." He immediately realized that Jun Moxie's mysterious disappearance must have been in preparation for this attack. But he had already realized this, and yet the other party had still succeeded. At this moment, Ning Wuqing was filled with remorse, grief, and indignation. He only felt that his heart was suffocating and filled with anger. It was as if he wanted to tear open his stomach and dig out all his internal organs to vent his anger. Suffocating anger. "Jun Moxie, you despicable little bastard. Come out here. Come out. You bastard, you bastard. You only know how to sneak attack from behind. A butcher and executioner. You immoral bastard. You should be struck by lightning and die a horrible death." Ning Wuqing roared crazily. There was no trace of his usual calmness. Under his roar, the two experts who were still standing, but had already been cut into two, finally swayed a little. Their eyes were filled with sorrow, and then their faces flushed red. One of them had a square face, big ears, and a tall figure. It was obvious that if he had been young, he would have been a handsome man. This person was Cheng Fengyi, Ning Wuqing's half-brother. Cheng Fengyi sighed softly and slowly turned to look at his former colleagues. He said indifferently, "I'm going." Everyone's faces were filled with grief and anger. He calmly looked at his abdomen. Blood had already stopped spurting out, but it was still gushing out, gurgling and flowing down his robe. There was already a large pool of sticky blood under his feet. He raised his head, and with a low but heavy voice, he slowly said, "Everyone, take care." Only then did he turn around to look at Ning Wuqing. Ning Wuqing's entire body was trembling. He stretched out his trembling hands, wanting to hug his brother, but he was afraid that if he moved, he would end the last bit of his brother's life, so he did not dare to move. He reached out his hands to his brother, not daring to touch him. Cheng Fengyi looked at Ning Wuqing and suddenly revealed a miserable smile. He forcefully held his last breath and said slowly, "Big brother, I have been raised by you all my life, and I have learned all my skills. My only wish is to be able to call you big brother in public. Although I can't, but I really want a big brother. I have been working hard." Ning Wuqing's hair and beard were standing on end. His tears gushed out like a river that had opened its floodgates. His whole body was trembling, and tears had already blurred his eyes. He said in a trembling voice, "Brother, my blood brother, I will now announce to the whole world that you are my blood brother. Good brother, you're also a Ning, a member of the Ning family." Cheng Fengyi smiled, and his face was filled with satisfaction. His eyes slowly became lifeless, and he said in a low voice, "I am going to be filial to my parents in the netherworld, big brother. You live well, don't let us worry for you." Suddenly his body bent, and his upper body slowly fell forward. Ning Wuqing rushed forward and hugged the lower half of his body. But Cheng Fengyi's breath had already stopped, and there was no more sound. Only his face was filled with sincere satisfaction. Ning Wuqing suddenly burst into tears. Although he called himself heartless, cut off all his emotions, and lived alone for the rest of his life, he valued the only blood relation he had in this world. His brother's death was like tearing Ning Wuqing's heart into two. "Brother, your surname should be Ning. Your surname has always been Ning." Ning Wuqing roared at the sky. He was so regretful that he wanted to cut his own throat with his sword. All these years, when the tragedy happened to his family, his second mother and his younger brother fled for their lives, his entire family was massacred, his fiancée was brutally raped to death, Ning Wuqing hated everyone from then on, including his second mother and brother. He stubbornly believed that under the circumstances, his second mother could have escaped with his fiancée, but she only brought his son. So Ning Wuqing could not forgive her. So although he cared for his brother, he never acknowledged his identity as a member of the Ning family. Cheng Fengyi knew that his brother could not let go of the knot in his heart, and had no choice but to follow his mother's surname. Until today, Ning Wuqing finally realized that he had made a grave mistake. He always knew what his brother had been yearning for, and he knew it very well. But it was only until his brother died in front of him that his last hope was fulfilled, his biggest hope. But even if it was fulfilled now, what was the use? Looking at the satisfied expression on Cheng Fengyi's face, Ning Wuqing suddenly felt a tearing pain in his heart. It was as if those salty tears had flowed into his heart. His brother's entire life was only for this one sentence from him, but he had always been stingy and did not give it. Ning Wuqing suddenly felt the world turn dark. He slowly raised his head. Everyone suddenly realized that his eyes were red with tears. Tears of blood. Mei Shuyan stood far away. This was the best moment to strike, the best chance to destroy the enemy. But Mei Shuyan did not strike, only looking at the enemy with pity. Junimo Xie also did not make his move at this moment, although he knew that this timing was even better than the previous timing. But in the face of this world's true feelings and deep remorse, even if he was an enemy, Junimo Xie would still give him a chance to bid farewell. This was not being stubborn. It was human nature. Jun Moxie was a man of true feelings. He would rather give his enemy some time to feel warm. Junimo Xie didn't regret killing them and causing them to be separated by life and death. They were enemies. Either you kill me, or I kill you. There was no such thing as regret or sympathy. If there was sympathy or even regret, it would be a woman's benevolence. It would be digging one's own grave. But facing the true feelings of the world, even the evil monarch's killer heart would not disturb them at this moment. He only appeared silently beside Mei Shuyan. His eyes were cold as he looked at Ning Wuqing and the rest who were immersed in grief. You are in grief now, but I can give you a chance. You can regret and vent your sorrow. I understand your feelings, so I will wait for you. But when you recover, we will fight again. He wouldn't show any mercy. The evil monarch had his own principles. Ning Wuqing placed his head on his brother's chest and gently rubbed it. He knelt on the ground and trembled. He murmured, "Second brother, my good second brother. Ning Fengyi, you are Ning Fengyi. You will always be Ning Fengyi. Big brother is wrong. It is Big brother's fault. Big brother deserves to die. Big brother has made you suffer for a lifetime. Big brother has let you down. Big brother has let you down." Ning Wuqing's voice was extremely low as he slowly spoke. His originally gray hair, in this short period of time, suddenly turned completely silver white, without any impurities. White hair in an instant, silver hair in an instant. In his arms, Cheng Fengyi lay quietly. There was some mockery and regret on his face, but more than that, there was peace and satisfaction. Mei Shuyan sighed softly and said, "I did not expect Ning Wuqing to be such a stubborn person." Jun Moxie said lightly, "You are wrong." Mei Shuyan turned to look at him and asked curiously, "Isn't that so?" Jun Moxie said heavily, "I believe that most people in this world are stubborn people. They all have the most beautiful side of their hearts. Even if one was a heinous criminal or an evil person, whether it was a pervert or a prostitute, they all had their own sacred place in their hearts. This part of divinity is true love." Junimo Xie sighed lightly and said, "A person's true love is something that everyone only experiences once in their lifetime. But once they fall in love, it will never change. Therefore, even a playboy has someone he loves the most. Even a prostitute who has a pair of jade-like arms and a bit of rosy lips has someone she loves the most. That's why there are so many people sighing in their dreams at night. That's why there are so many regrets in the world." Mei Shuyan frowned slightly. "This is different. How can a playboy and a prostitute have true love?" Jun Moxie laughed and said, "But how do you know there is no true love? A playboy is influenced by his environment and gradually becomes a playboy. Isn't it the same for a prostitute? If there was someone who grew up in luxury, would such a woman become a prostitute unless there was a major change? If a person grows up in poverty and never has a full meal until adulthood, will such a person become a playboy? So, it is all because of the environment. He sighed and said, so, in order to get his love, Murong Xiao, the emperor of Tianxiang, did not hesitate to slaughter Yi Gohan's entire family. And Yi Gohan, for his true love, has never changed. He would rather betray the heavens than betray you. Also, my third uncle waited in a daze for my third aunt. My third aunt stayed alone at the top of a snowy mountain for 10 years for her true love. My mother was willing to go into a deep sleep for my father. This is all caused by true love. True love can accomplish anything, but it can also lead to evil.